We now join our regularly scheduled programming, already in progress.
How do you do? We're about to unfold the story of
Ghost of Frankenstein.
My son, would you destroy that which I, your father, dedicated his life to creating? What if it had another brain?
Whose brain?
Your brain.
Power! What good is a brain without eyes to see?
I warned you that you might regret this action.
Well, we've warned you.
Yeah, we're at the end of all of this.
We are. It's over, man.
Sad.
This is over.
How sad is
You wonder why I need a break?
But the other part of that, and I think we can talk about when we talk more about the script book later, but some of the more downplayed aspects of it would work better if you had Rathbone back. Because originally the script was written with Wolf.
We'll talk about that, but yeah.
So, for example, him seeing the monster in the courtroom would just be a completely different scene.
Well, it barely plays.
It requires a different...
It barely plays as it is in the movie.
Yeah.
And written for Wolf, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot.
So that's not, but that's what I'm saying is Rathbone doesn't have to bring being big. In that case, he's being small, and
yes,
it works.
Yes.
You know, it would work.
Yep.
Anyway.
We haven't talked about Bomer as being a great character in this. And he is and he isn't because he doesn't have a whole lot to do.
Yeah.
Before we started this, I envisioned him as a bigger presence in the movie than he is.
Yeah.
And I think that's just due to Atwill's strength as an actor.
Well, and he has the best arc.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's an interesting
He
arc.
has an arc, I think.
Yeah.
'Cause
and he's not a good guy. And
no, he's not. And they're pretty rough on him in this Scripts from the Crypt book here.
Okay.
About bumbling and how he blew it and all this. And like, well, I didn't really take that away from it necessarily.
Okay, so I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you read part that... Neither one of us have read the whole thing. But
that'll
I've read 2/3 of 3/4 of the script, and I've read the...
Oh, really? You haven't read the whole thing? Okay.
No, I haven't even finished the
Oh,
script.
see, I
But
felt guilty about reading it all
Here's what I
last
did
night.
is I ran out of time, so then I read Weaver's summary.
Okay.
And I wish I'd read the whole thing, but I read most of it, so I get the idea of it.
Okay.
No, Bomer is an invention for this film from that script.
Yes,
So
he doesn't appear in the original draft.
I think looking at that original draft and seeing what they created with Bomer is a credit to the guy who ultimately is credited with writing the movie.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Eric Taylor wrote the first draft. W. Scott Darling.
There you go.
So it's a credit to him to that's his best contribution to it.
To the film, yeah. Otherwise, as we'll talk about, it's not all that different, really.
It's really not.
That's one of the big things.
I was surprised.
There's a couple of yes.
I was surprised at how closely they hew together. No, you're not quite done with talking about the film itself.
Yeah, so Bomer is a big part of the film, and I think Atwill is perfect for it. Yeah,
right.
So that's what we're talking about, the credits and who's in it.
Who's in it, yes.
Lugosi is good, not as good as last time.
Yeah.
Well, there was somebody else I was going to mention.
Evelyn Ankers is Evelyn Ankers. I mean,
Yeah.
she also isn't given a whole lot to do.
Yeah.
Because her character is skewed from what it was in the original script to be less interesting, I think.
Well, it's funny, we're talking about the last minute. The two characters walking off into the sunrise. Nothing like that happens in the first script, yeah.
And two characters that I have felt throughout had no chemistry with each other either.
That's true.
I just didn't feel like they had a relationship at all.
Well, hello, Elsa.
Yeah, he comes trundling in. She kind of has to react to this. And none of it really plays out to me like they met before the cameras rolled.
Yeah, speaking of Elsa, we've made some comments on the podcast. I've made some comments on the podcast about Greg Mank being just having a bit of a just sort of leering at some of the ladies in these films.
You read the same thing I did then.
My goodness.
Yep.
He takes it, he mentions it repeatedly in this thing.
Yeah, apparently, and I didn't even notice
that
it.
Elsa was in her, I thought she looked lovely in her nightwear.
I did not notice that.
But I never noticed
her
what he was
nipples
talking about.
through the fabric. And I read it last night, or I would go back and look.
Yeah.
But it is mentioned repeatedly.
Yeah.
Like, calm down.
I don't know. I know we said this in the podcast, but I think Weaver is equally able to point out the lovely women that are in these films without sounding like
kind
such
of a creep. Yeah.
And in some ways, I don't know if that's just his charm, because I think sometimes he is creepy, but he's got this charm that
he's got.
I gotta quit ragging on Mank. He's one of the. Yeah. He's the reason we're here.
I have nothing but respect for Greg Mank, but there are times.
The other part is his political beliefs on Facebook. I can do with that.
But Weaver is like you're talking to an old pal.
Yeah, that's true.
The first time I heard his voice, and I'd read a lot of his stuff for years, Universal Horrors, and then he did Poverty Row Horrors, and then he did a whole series of these great interview books with people that nobody bothered to talk to ever. So the first commentary he did that I'm aware of was The Wolfman, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, well, this guy's fucking great.
Yeah,
it's like I'm sitting next to a friend of mine who's telling me all this stuff.
It's simultaneously that and a well-prepared person who's got jokes for each timed out. Just you know what I mean. It's excellently done.
He's very well prepared, and
he managed to come across as relaxed but also prepared.
There's a really nice balance there, and his writing, I think, bears that out as well.
Yeah, good point.
There are passages in the first Universal Horrors book that are hilarious. They didn't translate necessarily to the rewrite because I think they tempered back a lot of their criticisms and stuff. I was a little disappointed because they savaged Dracula in the first one. In the second revised edition, they're like, yeah, this is all right. So Universal putting up some money for this? Or
you have the original version that has, was it Weaver that circled
the ones that were his chapters,
And what's Dracula?
I don't remember. I'd have to pull it off the shelf. Yeah.
All right. Now we're just talking about the book.
Too much to walk 6 feet over there.
We'll get to the book.
Yeah.
We're still talking about minute 68 of All New Thrills. There's Always Tomorrow.
Yep.
There is always tomorrow.
Which is interesting because since we're talking about the book a little bit, the title page says The Ghost of Frankenstein.
Yeah, that's weird.
So why they decided to go with There Is Always Tomorrow for a while is beyond me.
It's all very odd.
I think in the Wolfman...
I guess I sort of think when you're in that mill, the mill of putting these things out, the production
line,
you just don't care what it's called. The guy said it might be called this, so I'll put that on the title.
Whatever.
I don't care what it's called.
Just, I need it. Yeah, we need it in the can and out by Christmas.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and this is the first one in the series that is definitely a programmer. I mean, it's still teetering on the edge of being an A picture, but I think because we don't have Rathbone, we don't have a lot of the stuff that's in the original draft, it dropped it from the A level that the first three were to just below that. We went on the cheap.
Yeah.
Even scenes that are the same in the two are done quickly and cheaply in the movie versus what would have been a lot more atmospheric and a lot more enjoyable in the first draft.
Yeah, and I don't know, when I look at the promotional materials too, it just seems like they're talking about it like it's a hit already.
Yeah.
Obviously you're writing these before it's come out.
Yeah.
So they kind of get... I
think that's typical ballyhoo.
That's typical, yeah.
Because all the other books have the publicity stuff in them as well.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that.
Maybe then it might just be my attributing something in retrospect, but it does sort of feel that way. Like, well, now we're just going to churn these out. We'll get the gang back together next year, and we'll do another
one. Yeah.
Yeah. And
they're
doing Dracula movies and Wolfman movies. Well, we're going to talk about all the Wolfman movies, but Mummy movies. I feel like there's another one in there somewhere.
Invisible
I
Man.
guess there's what's that?
Invisible Man.
Oh yeah, that's the other one.
Yeah.
And then also Son of Dracula, Dracula's Daughter, all that kind of thing, where it's just
but Dracula's Daughter was still part of the Lemley era, so it wasn't just a churned out sequel.
That's a good point.
It went through a long gestation period. There are actually 2 books of scripts available. Riley did one that's good, and then Weaver did one that's fantastic. So
okay, is it like this where it's an earlier draft?
Yeah.
Okay.
All due respect to Philip J. Riley, because these Magic Image books, when they came out in the late 90s or late 80s, early 90s, were revolutionary.
Yeah.
They turned my world upside down. I could not fucking wait till the next one came out.
Yeah.
And now in retrospect, they're like, well, this is good, but look at this. Look at this one.
Like Dreamhaven had like a horror section.
Yeah.
I don't know. I suppose they probably still do.
It
just felt like it was keeping it vital. That's that period to me.
Was that, yeah.
Where it was like, how on earth could people be looking at these movies that were abandoned
that was
Sunday afternoons or whatever?
There was this sort of quantum leap from what I had been reading as a kid, apart from the 3 books that Don Glut did, Frankenstein Legend, Dracula book, and Classic Monsters or something like that. which were brief, but he lists shit in there that I still haven't come across anywhere else. But most of the books as a kid were very much puking up the old publicity materials. Oftentimes I questioned whether the author had even seen the movie.
Yeah,
there were so many inaccuracies in their description. And I had seen it on, Channel 5 on a Saturday afternoon once.
Yeah.
I'm not writing a book about it.
Yep.
And granted, to be fair, they were hard to find. They were hard to come. You didn't have VHS or DVDs.
Right.
So it took some effort. But you're going to write a book about it, unless you were hired by Scholastic. Put some effort into it, right? So then here comes Universal Horrors. Here comes Keep Watching the Skies by Bill Warren about the 50s. These were books that were, like I said, a huge quantum leap. So this was part of that sort of zeitgeist of this new wave of, and also It's Alive.
Oh, well, It's Alive is the one I was talking about.
Makes book, yeah.
Yeah. To me, It's Alive was the book that inspired this podcast to me. Because we're doing the films in that because that book made that into a series to me in my head.
Oh, okay.
Even though I already thought of it that way. That one sort of solidified it. Look, there's a thing here that's called the Frankenstein film series. Mm-hmm. And you could equally say there isn't, right? There's just a couple of them. It's over now.
Yeah, we're done.
We're on the end of one.
Yeah.
We're on the end of the Frankenstein series, and from here on out, it's a Wolfman
series. Yeah, with Frankenstein monster pops up once in a while.
Yeah, yeah.
It's unfortunate, and I think the writers, granted, they were hamstrung, and even in this instance with this film, Kenton and Darling were it's so weird to say that as,
a person's name. Well, like I said, we're still watching Justified, so that's what Boyd calls Ava.
Yeah, Darling. I gotta watch that again, just for him.
Nah, that's the only reason to watch it. I'm starting to get sick of Raylan.
Oh yeah?
I was talking to Jason about this the other day. I think it's a good show, but it's now become flawed in that when Boyd beats the shit out of somebody to get some information, it's because he's the bad guy, and I can enjoy that.
Yeah.
But when Raylan does it, I'm like, oh great, the cops are beating somebody up.
I guess so.
It's just different. There's no way of getting around it.
In today's climate, yeah.
Yeah.
See, I had read 90 Elmore Leonard books prior to ever it being a show.
Yeah.
So to me, it's that's just part of the Elmore Leonard world.
I can see that.
And I don't look at it the same way. I don't look at it like that.
Yeah.
That's Raylan Givens. That's who he is. That's
and maybe
part of that milieu.
Yeah. And so as a movie, maybe I do feel differently about it. But after 6 or 7 seasons,
the problem is with a long-running show like that, it's hard to maintain.
Well, and then also the history that what was that show 24, where he's always beating the guy up. Yeah. Kiefer Sutherland would always beat a guy up to find out the information, and that made even more sense in the concept of that show. It was real time.
Well, it was
so every
desperate,
week he's got to get something
hour
done.
So literally every hour in a day he's beating somebody up.
So it's like the fever. It's not fever dream. It's the dream of conservatives, right?
Yeah.
This is what the cops are for, man.
Yeah,
there is a little kid that's going to get killed in 25 minutes, and I got to beat the shit out of him. If I beat him enough, he'll tell me where that little kid is.
But
it's just a fantasy. But
I don't see that so much from Justified. Yeah. I don't see that as being a conservative.
To me, there was a
tool
particular time where one guy that he just wanted some information with that had been mixed up in the bad stuff was in the hospital, and he choked off his. It was like torture. He just tortured the guy, and I just thought, yeah, that's great. Thank you for reminding me that cops torture guys.
Okay,
because that's happening right now. Let's face it.
Raylan Givens isn't necessarily a straight arrow, a good guy either.
And it works on that level.
He's a flawed hero.
It works better on that level when they play it that way.
You can't look at him as, he's not Dirty Harry, but he's also not...
It might work better if he was Dirty Harry.
Adam 12 kind of a cop.
Because he's ready, he'll kill you.
Yeah.
The thing I like about him, I guess, is he walks into a room, and when things get completely out of control, as they often do very fast, it's a strength of the show, is, well, now there's going to be probably a gunfight here. Yeah. And almost always there is. Yeah. And Raylan's first instinct is to say, just so you know, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
I'm going to win, and you're going to die.
Yeah.
So please don't do this. And I think that's a strength.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So then for him to be the bad guy, too, kind of doesn't work.
Well, anyway.
Yeah. Oh, do we have enough for the material?
I don't know. I don't know what we're doing anymore.
All right, so...
We probably got 2 episodes already.
Lionel Atwill, Cedric Hardwicke,
Well, we're going to list them off, right? Sir Cedric Hardwicke, Ralph Bellamy, we haven't talked about.
Ralph Bellamy is in this minute. We haven't talked about him.
He's in this minute. He's in this movie, and I don't care for him in this movie at all.
Yeah.
I don't care for him in The Wolfman at all.
Yeah, it's weird.
And he's an actor that I really enjoy in pretty much everything else I've ever seen him in.
He's the guy in His Girl Friday, right?
Yeah.
He
He
says
he's
like
the guy
Ralph
who looks like Ralph Bellamy.
Yeah.
He's in a lot of those screwball comedies from the late 30s into the 40s.
Yeah.
He's usually the guy that the female lead is engaged to. Oh, like His Girl Friday, the other guy.
Or in a way, this.
True.
Although it doesn't really play out.
It doesn't.
That way.
There's no other guy.
I guess
here.
he gets the girl in the end.
Cary Grant isn't going to swoop in and
That would
take
be
Elsa.
great.
Wouldn't that? Then this would be the greatest movie ever made.
Cary Grant walks in at the
Shows
end.
up at the end. Thank you
Elsa,
for.
what? Let me take you away from this awful. Yeah, I can't do Cary Grant
I
at
don't
all.
bother to try.
No.
If we're gonna start to reference the original draft.
Oh, I think we started.
Yeah, no. The prosecutor reads in that as a much older character, I thought. It'd be somebody like Holmes Herbert, or who's the magistrate in this particular film, Lawrence Grant, somebody like that.
Yeah.
Somebody with some gravitas. He's an unpleasant character in the script. But I think you're not supposed to like him. You're not supposed to feel like he's the hero like you are in the film.
That's interesting, because as you're talking, what I'm thinking is it's almost sort of incomplete. So what has happened is I think a lot of the changes from this, let's call it the first draft, I don't know.
That's what it is.
And then to this
the
other
shooting
draft,
script.
or for that matter, to the film, let's just say. I think a lot of the improvements make a lot of sense. And even so far as having Eric be Elsa's boyfriend is an improvement. But I feel like you could do another draft, because it doesn't really play out.
It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel
real.
genuine. Yeah.
And it doesn't need much, because they're already in a relationship at the beginning, they're in a relationship at the end. It doesn't need that much work to make it work, and they just kind of threw it together.
I just feel, it's very perfunctory. It doesn't feel organic to the story, to me.
Yeah.
I feel like it is a change that was made to shoehorn, because what has happened in the original draft, they were clearly thinking, we're going to get Basil Rathbone back as Wolf. Karloff is going to be the monster. This is going to be an A picture.
Yeah, hold on a second. So I have all this comments I was going to do. Do you want me to do that after this then? Now our order has been completely thrown.
All right, should we do those first then?
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I feel like we're gonna. You sounded like you were launching into the whole other topic, and I thought,
well, let's do that. And
I got all this other shit.
I can juggle some of this around in editing.
All right. Well, that's true too.
Go for it.
That's giving you more work to do, and I don't like that. But it does.
But then
happen.
I'm taking like a year off, so.
All right, so then to sort of be not organic about it, but we do see the end credits. We talked about Bellamy.
Mm-hmm.
We
talked about all these people here.
We talked about all these people.
I mean, the
Cheney's the one that...
Cheney's the big sore thumb sticking out.
Yep.
And... Okay, granted...
You do see a lot of people defending it.
I do. And,
in different... I don't know where I see these things, but it's like...
I have. Mostly online, because people just want to say something stupid to be controversial.
No, I've seen it on the Classic Horror Film Board, and that could be happening there, but I doubt it. But the thing that I think that's happening there is they're saying... The thing I always hear is, and I think Mank says it at some point in this, is the script was written that way.
Yes and no.
And some people say that to the point where it almost sounds like what they're saying is, clearly the script must have been written that way. Even though you've got the script in front of you, you can look at it.
It is not, though.
Yeah.
There are numerous times where it describes an expression on the monster.
But is that the shooting script?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We talked about it. Because
Okay.
and I referenced it whenever it would come up, is that the script clearly wanted this to be Karloff, because it says the monster does this, and Cheney doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that position is not necessarily defensible.
Yeah.
Because read the script, and has expressions of joy whenever Cloestine is there, and all you get is that scowly grimace nonstop. The only time there's a slight smile when he's in her bedroom to get her, and then in the courtroom when she comes up to him, almost does something.
Yep.
And then at the end when
he's
Igor.
Yeah. When he's Igor, all bets are off.
Yeah, but prior to that, he's just a zombie.
And it doesn't help that they've tried to take this makeup that was perfectly designed for Karloff's head and put it on him, because his eyes just disappear.
Yeah.
You don't see his eyes in this film.
Well, he doesn't have the big soulful eyes that Karloff had. Neither does Lugosi.
No.
And there's the publicity puff piece about producer Wagner has ordered that Jack Pierce use the same makeup for, like, yeah, what else would they have done, though? Would they completely redesign the monster because he's a different actor? They established this brand.
Right.
You know, Batman looks like Batman no matter who's playing him. The costume changes details and stuff, but Batman is Batman, right?
Yeah.
Superman is Superman.
Right.
It's a branding. They are fiercely protective of this look, which apparently lapses in 2026. So we'll see a bunch of Frankenstein movies too.
Perfect.
But it just, there are faces that it works on, and there are faces that it does not.
Yeah.
I don't think it would work on mine. I've done it to myself a few times, and I am not Boris. I am not Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
Glenn Strange, it works really well.
Yep.
He doesn't look like Karloff at all, but it works on his face.
Yeah, I think
it's
that's
the high
a good
cheekbones,
point.
it's the lines in his face. He's got that sort of craggy, weather-beaten face, and it really works well for it.
Yep.
Lugosi looks like absolute shit. He's probably the worst-looking actor to have worn this makeup, I think.
And it's funny because there's at least one GIF that when you search for GIFs with Frankenstein, that's him. Maybe two. Yeah.
Well, and it's because they're ridiculous looking.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. All right.
There we go then.
Lon Chaney, thumbs down.
Yeah.
Lionel Atwill, thumbs up.
Yep.
Cedric Hardwicke,
we'll do like a middle. Yeah.
Middle.
Bellamy, thumbs
down. I'm afraid. You know, the only thing I would say about Bellamy is he does provide gravitas, but it's not worth it.
It doesn't work.
It
doesn't work.
Very rarely. I think when he brings up, I mentioned it a few weeks ago, when he brings up Kettering, kind of out of the blue, I feel like that works partly because Bellamy brings that gravitas.
It does, but it's
not that anybody else couldn't have done it, I guess.
But it's also an artifact of changing the script, which we'll talk about.
Oh, that's true too. Okay, all right, that's it, and that's it.
That's it.
Nothing to say about nothing further to say about minute 68.
No, not really.
Who did the lighting? Who did the sets?
We talked about that at the beginning, so
yeah, that's true.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, find out next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.